In this video, I'll provide a brief overview of an interesting model, spiral dynamics, describing how individuals have the potential for existential development. That is, development in values, worldviews, meaning in life, and so forth. Spiral dynamics lies at the intersection between psychology and philosophy. It attempts to outline a series of value systems, what we could also call existential stages or states of consciousness, that an individual can go through. Depending on the stage a person occupies, there are different values, different perceptions of what the world and oneself are, and thus fundamentally different understandings of what life is about and how it should be lived. The core idea of the model was developed in the 1960s and 70s by the American psychologist Clare W. Graves, who sought to uncover why there are so many different perceptions of human nature. He examined biological, psychological, and sociological factors, and thus didn't limit himself to just one field, and developed a comprehensive explanatory model, a general theory describing human development through various stages. Humans possess the potential for many existential stages or levels, and depending on the influences encountered, an individual can progress to increasingly higher levels, each level featuring a particular understanding of oneself and the world. Graves' model was later further developed by Don Beck and Chris Cohen under the name spiral dynamics, as the development occurs in a spiral form, meaning that as individuals move upward in development, they retain previous stages to some extent, while stages not reached appear incomprehensible or uninteresting. When enough individuals reach a certain stage, changes also manifest at the societal level. Thus, this spiral development is also reflected historically. The individual develops parallel to the broader development of human societies and cultures. These stages represent progressively higher states of consciousness and alternate between being individually oriented and community-oriented. Each state has its own way of understanding the world, specific values and ways of living and acting. Each state represents a distinct way of existing as a human. These stages are often represented by color codes: beige, purple, red, blue, orange, green, yellow, turquoise, and more. I'll now mention some key characteristics for each stage. The first two stages are less interesting, so I'll cover them briefly. At the beige stage, life revolves around basic survival at an almost instinctual level. An example might be an infant, or in a different way, a homeless person. In early cultures, tribal societies, and in young children, we see the purple stage, where the community provides safety. Here, the tribe is paramount. Magic and ritual protect against the wrath of spirits. Loyalty to family and group is everything, leaving little room for individual expression. Next is the red stage. Individuals and societies at this stage live out personal desires and impulses through exerting power and dominating one's surroundings. Examples are classic movie villains, criminal subcultures, rebellious teenagers, historically Vikings, or epic Greek heroes. Individuals show courage, demand respect, and view the world as a battleground where only the strong survive. This can lead to aggression, vengefulness, and hate when feeling betrayed or disrespected. Yet such a life lacks peace. There are always conflict ahead, or Perhaps one isn't strong enough and must submit to others. Thus, individuals may progress to the blue existential stage. Here one finds order and stability in a fixed structure, a dogmatic truth, a truth unquestioned, like fundamentalist religion, ideology, or nationalism. Here too the world is seen as a battleground, but now it's good versus evil, and individuals see themselves on the side of good. Concepts like justice and responsibility are central. Life has a greater purpose. There are rewards for good actions and punishment for failure, which introduce concept of sin and internal conflict. There's also a clear enemy, and fighting against evil can be ruthless. The community is central again, with an authoritarian hierarchy with traditions and moral norms one submits to. Here we find classic heroes fighting evil, military, dutiful workers, traditional strict education, political conservatism, and historically knights, medieval Christianity, or authoritarian ideologies, which often also have significant red aspects. But as with other stages, there's a downside. Perhaps one struggles with norms or can no longer accept the dogmatic truth, or finds it unjust that hierarchy, not talent or skill, determines one's status. This may lead to moving to the orange stage. Here, personal abilities become central, with individual freedom to achieve material success through competition. The world is seen as filled with opportunities and potential for progress and improvement, not only personally but also societally, driven by hard work, reason and knowledge, a materialistic worldview. Examples include science, business, performance-oriented education, political liberalism, historically the Enlightenment and industrialization. But even with material success, life may lack deeper meaning. It can become overly cynical, exploitative, or excessively rational with no real emotional depth. This could lead individuals to the green existential stage, where feelings, love, and community once again become central. Social equality, ecology, and global awareness, for example, are emphasized. Dialogue, understanding, and consensus are crucial, while absolute truth is rejected in favor of relativism, acknowledging different opinions and perspectives. There can also be a spiritual dimension reminiscent of New Age thinking. Examples are welfare states, human rights advocates, the women's rights movement, animal welfare, climate awareness, politically left-wing ideologies, and historically hippies, feminism, and the youth revolts of the 1960s and 70s. From a blue viewpoint, green represents moral decay, while from an orange perspective, green is unrealistic and ineffective. Common to all these stages is that they are first order. The individuals of these stages don't understand the higher stages and look down upon lower stages they've outgrown. They may overestimate themselves. For instance, some may believe they are at the green stage, but are actually at blue, treating green values as their dogmatic truth. At every first order stage, individuals believe their understanding is correct, while others are mistaken. The discomfort with other stages reveals a profound fear of those stages. Second order stages, however, are characterized by the ability to recognize that all stages have value and contain some truth. At the yellow existential stage, the world is perceived as consisting of complex systems which require comprehensive solutions that do not merely benefit one side. Knowledge is crucial, and one seeks, typically independently and free from established norms and beliefs, to understand these interconnections through an open, often ethical and inspiring approach. Spiral dynamics itself is an example of yellow thinking, as is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and Einstein as a person has also been used as an example of this stage. Only a few people exist at the yellow stage, perhaps 1%, and at higher stages it's even fewer. Therefore, the empirical basis here is relatively weak, and much of it is based on interpretations. The turquoise stage may, in one interpretation, be characterized by deep spiritual and metaphysical wisdom and genuine universal love, perhaps exemplified by figures like Jesus or Buddha, perceived as insightful humans, not divine incarnations, or wise characters from films and literature, such as Yoda from Star Wars or Gandalf from The Lord of the Rings. The stages beyond turquoise move further away from our common world and will not be addressed here. While an individual cannot be reduced to just a single stage and has aspects of multiple stages, there will typically be one primary stage. According to this model, most people in modern Western societies are situated at blue, orange, or green, with a smaller number at red and very few at yellow. Through specific influences or particular existential considerations, for example, upbringing, environment, societal norms, societal changes, etc., an individual can progress from one stage to the next. It's a step-by-step process where each stage must be experienced before moving on and up. Alternatively, one might become stuck at a stage if unable to move beyond it, or even regress to a lower stage. The fundamental idea in spiral dynamics is thus to propose a theory or model explaining why people perceive themselves and the world differently, and yet can change viewpoints. On one hand, the model embraces the idea that individuals have various perspectives and truths. On the other, it claims that there is a particular pattern of human development, implying an underlying truth about what humans fundamentally are. Spiral dynamics is therefore an interesting example of a model that is empirically founded, as is typical in much scientific thought, yet it also claims something about fundamental human nature, a philosophical issue. Many traditional philosophical positions and viewpoints can themselves be categorized into different stages according to this model, even though this involves simplification and strong interpretation. E.g., Nietzsche, red; Kant, orange; Socrates, yellow; Plato, blue, or possible turquoise, and so on. This is highlighted as one of the model's strengths. When encountering people and ideas, identifying their states can lead to better understanding, avoiding or resolving potential conflicts. The spiral dynamics model is not part of mainstream academic thinking and is thus often found to be too alternative compared to conventional views. Thus, some criticisms have emerged. First, the model is empirically based, meaning it relies on studies and data. However, it has been debated whether Graves' empirical methods were sufficiently robust, especially regarding the model's claimed universality, applying to all people and cultures. Additionally, some elements of the model are argued to lack direct empirical support. Another criticism is that what is presented as the model's strength, its broad explanatory scope regarding human nature, is actually a weakness. The model attempts to encompass too much, becoming overly general. Finally, the fundamental idea that there are various stages of human character development and people exist in different stages could be criticized for suggesting that some individuals are better than others. The concept of higher and lower stages or hierarchy is not universally welcomed. In conclusion, spiral dynamics is a model outlining human existential and consciousness development through a series of stages, where the perception of the world, life's meaning, values, etc., some of the most central aspects of human existence, change progressively. If one subscribes to this way of thinking, the model offers significant existential value. It provides better understanding of the world and other people, aiding one's navigation through life and offering a new perspective of one's own life and values, with opportunities for further personal existential growth. Thanks.